Okay, hi everyone. So, in continuation to our discussion, which is basically to understand the landscape of the essential patents and the stuff ongoing in terms of even if we, for the longest time, the discussion has been. I'll wait for a few more moments before we start. So, let's wait. Okay, we'll restart the stuff. So, we'll talk about the patenting landscape first and understand even if the problem statement right now is for the longest time any international application, whether it was under Paris Convention or it was under the PCT, which is the Patent Corporation Treaty Protocol, the timeline to enter India was 31 months if the patent has been filed through the international window, which is WIPO, that is World Intellectual Property Organization. And there are many fake websites and everything which states that, we are WIPO, we are government agency to file the application. And there was a lot of unrest um, which was happening somewhere from, I would rather say, till the time I was not the Indian patent agent. I sat for the exam in 2006, and obviously I cleared the exam. So the amendment happened in 2005. And let me tell you, that time also, there were so many Indian firms who were had the URL, which is the Uniform Resource Locator, on the World Wide Web. They had their web domains in a manner. Most of the folks used to think it's a patent office, and it was not the patent office. And let me tell you, not much has been done in that regard. Those firms are still working, and there was some kind of, obviously, corruption was always there in intellectual property rights. We all know about it, the people who are part of the industry. Now, to overcome that, notices were issued, something happened. The database was very open ended, new databases were made, something called as big patterns was there. I was also part of this ethos of surf ip, which was actually launched by the Singapore government. I mean, honestly speaking, I can't even number the number of patentability searches, freedom to operate, end-to-end tailor-made services provided all these years. And particularly when I was done with the telco landscape of the patent application by the year 2011, I had changed in terms of the person I was. And the person I am today is like totally different. I'm not the person I was in 2011. Because that point of time, the how India was in 2006 to 2011, I can't even imagine. I used to think when I step out of home that, I thought the cognizance would be like, the patent agents or the people I meet in terms of the so called IP community, intellectual property community at the conferences and stuff. I thought they have some cognizance because when I was drafting those telecommunication patents, or I was drafting patent application for Nokia, which was basically this chaos which is everywhere in India. And that is basically infringement of intellectual property rights. Because what happens is, even if you're not filing a patent in India in terms of a particular application in India, then also you are protected by copyright, because the copyright law states that whatever the user has created, that is his or her copyright. Now, another problem statement is, or I'd rather say, for most of the clients, now I don't do that. But in my early years, because I'm a problem solver, I have been the sports captain of my school, I have played basketball like anything, I have played so many games over my life, in terms of I know all the uh, nooking corners of all the Delhi schools. So I was one person who was always out of class. Anyhow, that was another chapter altogether. I mean, around that also there was a lot of bully in the school from the teachers, um, from the fraternity of my batchmates, my seniors, my juniors. It was a chaos, a very sad chaos, but a real chaos. Now the point I'm trying to make here is, I used to think people understand technology, or at least they have some cognizance of what technology is all about in terms of the intellectual property rights, and particularly the SGD goal, which talks about the sustainability. Now, the sustainability per se, plastic pollution. I mean, oh my God, plastic pollution is the biggest menace, the worst innovation which has happened in the chemistry is plastic, because it can be produced at such a scale, and if you're not reutilizing it, it has entered the food chain. It has entered the food chain of, you know, the animals. I mean, those are the poor, chaps who are the first line of defense as far as nature is concerned. And particularly in India, we are seeing that, what happened in Ahmedabad, which is part of Gujarat, that honeybees are, uh, were trying to stop a airplane to fly. And let me tell you, I talked about it, and a lot of innovation has been done around it. And people don't understand. We are not in the hope that AI is going to solve this. First and foremost is, do we understand AI or not? AI, on the face of it, it is artificial intelligence, but it's not artificial intelligence. It is basically, say, for example, Google Forms or any kind of, document you give to 10 people, 20 people, they might write answer to that. That answer is fed with the same questions to the AI with the different algorithms. And algorithms is nothing but, it's a flow chart or a flow diagram, nothing else. Nothing else can even enter into that. Or it can be infinite loop. There are only three scenarios when we're talking about the execution of an event. Whether that event happens or that event will not happen, or some middle ground will come. Just to keep it simple. Now, what has happened is these intellectual property right agents in India, along with the KPOs, although they were working, and US has been pointing this for the longest time. They had identified the controller from Hyderabad way back somewhere in 2008, 2009. I'm not taking the names because this industry is very, very small. Very small. Can you imagine if we are taking, I'm not taking India's population as 1.4, I'll take it for this discussion as 1 billion plus plus, because even if people are dead, their accounts are active. Even companies are dead, these accounts are active, whether it's MCA, which is supposed to be Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Can you imagine? It's a ministry. A ministry has to work. They cannot be giving false data and say that, GDP of India is increasing. We have come to the point where the discussion was that AI will not come. Well, AI will not come. AI was already there in 2006, 2007. What are we talking about? 2007. AI was already there. It's just that we were quiet in terms of the people who were executing those algorithms. Now we have come to a point where we are saying RI is important. That is the real intelligence. The point is AI training हो चुकी है. Hindi में I got some data set to this. It's a very interesting data set. I want to talk about it because this is something most of the folks in the world would be able to resonate. So there's always the question, the egg chicken story, whether the egg came first or the chicken. And if I convert it into Hindi, or it is basically murgi ya anda. So murgi is basically the hen, and anda is supposed to be the egg. I asked this question to a person who is like, I would say, in a circle where I have a communication once in a while, but I have a communication. That person knows me, I know that person. That particular being said that मैं तो खाता ही नहीं. That means I don't even eat. Neither I eat chicken, neither I eat egg. तो मैं तो खाता ही नहीं. The point is, we are in a situation where we say that, we are hoping. Let me tell you, with technology, you cannot use the word HOPE. It's not a hope or belief. People have no cognizance. And all these journalists, oh my God, And particularly the journalism in India is like, far-fetched. They are talking about things which have been executed, I mean, 20 years back. And the sad part of this whole conversation is when the Kargil war happened, there was an Indian female journalist who showed the barracks and all, and then that person was killed. But still she's part of the journalism. She is taking interviews in foreign land, and this is where the cognizance of empathy is lacking in this country in terms of the whole affair of how the journalism should be. See, with technology you cannot say, we are hoping this will happen. The point of contention, and let me tell you, uh, companies like Cisco and the others of their stature, they understand tech, right? And perhaps they understand tech from the point of view that it is technology. But if you go back to the historical data sets, what is a PCB? It's a printed circuit board. On the PCB, whatever patterns are there, these are nothing but patterns which were already there in the historical data set. For example, Fibonacci series, that's everywhere in the nature, and you will see Fibonacci series is able to resolve so many equations, whether it's on the PCB or anything. Point number one. Point number two, if you go to the historical data set, particularly the place at Dumbala, I have visited a lot of historical places, and I have at least hiked up and seen the lion's paw. I saw that castles are built in the air. So the point I'm trying to make here is, on the face of it, we think prima facie this technology is technology because it is new. Honestly speaking, it is not new. People who travel from one place to the other, they take the best of it and deploy it in some other way, whether it's a trademark or replacing the letter K with letter C, the letter S with letter C. I mean, so much can happen with just with the letters, or they'll just put extra letters, they will put extra, logos, they will put extra taglines and say, we are different. And on the face of it, it looks different. But what is important here is we need to have these affidavits, like why this idea came to you at the first instance, whether it was like, oh, like, did you think in your sleep or in your dreams or whatever. I'll give you one example. I was in court for some matter, and I'm not naming the court here, but the point here is, to, to my mind, I used to think, court has to work like this before I was a lawyer. But when I became a lawyer, I was in the court. And when I see that orchestration, I mean, the trademark was of foreign entity, and they were obviously fighting against an Indian entity. The Indian entity said that, and it's so funny. And in most of the cases, I saw that that's the online submission, that the nomenclature of the name is like the grandmother's half name, three letter here, then daughter's three letter here, mother's three letter here, and the mark is in force. And I was like, what is this BC all about? I mean, I'm like, how unrealistic it is. So the point I'm trying to make is, even like the McDonald's is like, okay, people who understand McDonald's, that's all about real estate. And the same kind of a story is being orchestrated by Haldirams for the longest time. I mean, they're trying to infiltrate everywhere. But let me tell you, you cannot copy businesses. And let me tell you, you cannot copy intellectual property rights. Now, the point of contention here is, in the name of real estate, like, how they sell real estate, they say in India, in all these malls and everywhere, wherever they are, maybe in the, outskirts and everything, they said कि हल्दीराम आ गया है. हल्दीराम आ गया मतलब हल्दीराम का शॉप है, आप भी ले लो, and you will get these much return. And poor normal people, they invest in groups. Generally the investment in India is done in groups, it's not done in like one person. Obviously it's not feasible also that one person investing that kind of amount from just working on a normal scale, because the Indian mindset is, it works in a very different manner. Like somebody asked me, pretty, what is a CTA, the way you work? I said CTA, that is not even applicable, and that was not applicable from day one, because I was very sure on what I need to work. And I got my first client from Skype. And it was not that, it was fortunate, I knew it. What I'm trying to say here is it was not manifestation or of any kind. From the very beginning, from the cognizance of what I know about how things are, I come from half army school. So army mind works in a very different mind as compared to a civilian. Even when I was shifted to a civilian school, half of the time was I was just observing everyone. I was quiet on the face of it, but at the same point of time, I was intellectual enough to understand what is wrong. Because, particularly the civilian school I'm from, a lot of startups have, I would say, cropped up from the school itself. Maybe they are my seniors or my batchmates, but we don't talk. I mean, even if we meet in person, we acknowledge ourselves just like strangers, so you can understand the kind of school we come from. And a lot of data sets, when I just go back to that time I didn't understand, because I was always like, I have to participate in this, I have to participate in X activity, Y activity, and always wanted to be that inventor to solve anything and everything. All those debates of that time, Pokhran War, gene editing, those were the kind of debates which we were part of. So the point of contention here is it's very important for folks to understand and appreciate intellectual property rights. If we are not appreciating intellectual property rights, at least say we are copying it and say, okay, this is what it is. Let's abolish intellectual property rights and just let's work on the copyright, because this is where we stand. Right now, we're talking about copyright. This year is for copyright before the WIPO, which is copyright and the music. But copyright also is part of, whatever we are creating. So that cognizance has to be there. And there, you can't be talking about essential patents and non-essential patents, because know-how and technical know-how are two different aspects. And both aspects are very important to be understood. Whosoever has developed it in any capacity and was in the timeline before it was published, those entities know a little bit more than the others, and always they will have more cognizance. Whether we are talking about AI, which is artificial intelligence from 2006, or today I'm talking about RI, which is real intelligence, because I know this word RI is going to pick up like anything, because now people realize, okay, we are forgetting our common sense. What should we do? You need to have your own cognizance of, utilizing stuff. Learn coding. Coding is a must. I mean, as a kid or as a kindergarten kid or anyone, they need to understand coding from whatever language they want to, because what we have developed is Impula, which we are never going to disclose because we want to keep it as a trade secret. Although the patent was filed before Indian Patent Office, people can read it, but they'll never understand it because this is defensive publication. And this is what it is. I think we are fortunate enough, we are living this life, and we are going to see the AR and the VRs and the flying cars and the others in our lifetime, which is a good thing, because all these tech was already there. It's just that now internet has provided an opportunity to review it, view it, and work on it. Thank you for watching out the video, and I believe this has given a little bit of more data set to resolve the issues at whatever level we are discussing right now. Thank you for watching out the video. Have a great day.